The Barrett M82 felt like an extension of her body. Sergeant McKenna, Mac, Brennan, lay prone on the rooftop, her breathing slow and controlled. The concrete was still warm from the Yemeni sun, even though it was 3:15 in the morning. Below her, the streets of Sana'a twisted like a labyrinth of shadows and dust. 1,200 yards out, the compound waited. Walls topped with razor wire, guards with AK-47s, and somewhere inside, a CIA asset who had maybe 6 hours left to live if her team didn't get him out. Mac's spotter, a Navy SEAL named Rodriguez, whispered into the comm. Tango 1, Northwest Tower. Tango 2, East Corner. Tango 3, Main Gate. Copy, Mac breathed. Her finger rested beside the trigger guard. Not on it. Never on it until the moment came. That was one of the first lessons her father had taught her. Master Chief Thaddeus Reaper Brennan had taught her a lot of things before he died. The wind shifted. Mac felt it on her neck, calculated the adjustment in her head. 2 clicks right. The scope's reticle settled on the first guard's center mass. Wraith 2 is in position, a voice crackled in her ear. That was Lieutenant Hayes, leading the ground team. 3 operators moving through the compound's blind spot, using the drainage ditch Mac had identified in the satellite imagery. Tango 1 has a cigarette, Rodriguez murmured. Lighter's out. He's distracted. Mac's heartbeat slowed. 60 beats per minute. 55. She squeezed between heartbeats. The Barrett roared. The suppressor reduced the sound, but nothing could fully silence a .50 caliber rifle. The first guard dropped before the report reached the compound. Mac was already tracking to the second target. Squeeze. The second guard fell. The third one was turning, bringing his weapon up, mouth opening to shout. Mac's third round caught him in the throat. He went down without making a sound. Clear, she said. Moving, Hayes confirmed. Mac watched through her scope as 3 shadows flowed over the compound wall. They moved like water, like smoke. Team 7 had trained for this. Every movement choreographed, every contingency mapped. 4 minutes later, Hayes' voice came back. Package secure. Extraction point Alpha. Mac was already packing her rifle. She and Rodriguez moved across the rooftops like ghosts, reaching the extraction zone as the MH-60 Blackhawk descended. The noise was incredible, rotor wash kicking up dust and debris. Hayes hauled the CIA asset, a thin man with a bloodied face, into the helicopter. Mac pulled herself aboard, and the bird lifted, banking hard over the city. The asset was crying, speaking rapid Arabic that Mac couldn't follow. Hayes handed him water, checked his injuries. Professional. Calm. They flew in silence for 20 minutes before crossing into friendly airspace. That's when Commander Peterson's voice came over the comm. Cold. Clipped. Lieutenant Hayes, Sergeant Brennan, upon landing, you will submit to debriefing. This operation never occurred. You were never in Yemen. The asset will be processed through alternative channels. Is that understood? Mac and Hayes exchanged glances. Understood, sir, Hayes said. The helicopter touched down at the Coalition airbase. They were separated immediately. Mac spent 6 hours in a windowless room, repeating the same statement. I was not in Yemen. I conducted no operations on foreign soil. By the time they released her, she'd signed 14 pages of non-disclosure agreements. 2 days later, she was back in San Diego. The summons came on a Tuesday afternoon. Mac was in the armory cleaning her weapons. She'd been running drills all morning with the junior enlisted, teaching proper sight picture and trigger control. Her hands moved automatically, breaking down the M4, inspecting each component. Sergeant Brennan? She looked up. A master-at-arms stood in the doorway, his face expressionless. Yes? You're to report to Building 7 immediately. Colonel Blackwood is waiting. Something cold settled in Mac's stomach. Building 7 was NCIS headquarters, Naval Criminal Investigative Service. You didn't get called there for a routine chat. She reassembled her rifle in 30 seconds, secured it, and followed the MA across the base. The San Diego sun was brutal. Heat shimmered off the asphalt. Young sailors in working uniforms hurried past, their faces showing that peculiar mixture of boredom and anxiety that defined military life. Building 7 was a squat, concrete structure that looked like it had been built during the Cold War and never updated. Inside, the air conditioning was aggressive, making Mac's sweat turn clammy. Colonel Garrett Blackwood waited in interview room 3. Mac knew him by reputation. Former SEAL Team 3, multiple deployments to Iraq, including the Second Battle of Fallujah in 2004. The scar across his jaw was legendary, shrapnel from an IED that killed 2 of his teammates. He'd stayed in the fight for another 6 hours before accepting medical evacuation. Now he ran security operations for the entire Naval Base San Diego. 2 master-at-arms flanked him. One was a woman Mac recognized, Senior Chief Diane Kowalski. The other was a younger man, powerfully built, his hand resting casually near his sidearm. "Sergeant Brennan," Blackwood said. His voice was gravel and ice. "Sit down." Mac sat. The chair was metal, uncomfortable, probably intentional. "Do you know why you're here?" Blackwood asked. "No, sir." He slid a photograph across the table. It showed a USB drive, small and black, sitting in an evidence bag. "This was found in your personal locker during a random security sweep this morning." Max stared at it. "I've never seen that before." "Really?" Blackwood's tone suggested he'd heard that line 1,000 times. "Because when we examined it, we found classified information. Top secret, SCI, details about a black operation in Yemen. Operator names, asset identity, mission parameters." The cold in Mac's stomach turned to ice. "Sir, I don't know how that got into my locker, but—" "Save it," Blackwood leaned back. "We have forensic evidence that this drive was accessed from a computer terminal you logged into. Your fingerprints are on the casing, and you just happened to return from Yemen 48 hours ago." "That mission was—" Mac caught herself. "Sir, I wasn't in Yemen." "Right, because the mission never happened." Blackwood's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Convenient, except someone leaked that information. Someone who knew every detail. Someone who was there." Mac's mind raced. This was wrong. All of it. She hadn't touched that USB drive. She'd never even seen it before. "Sir, I'm being set up." "That's what they all say." Blackwood nodded to Senior Chief Kowalski. "Search her." Mac stood slowly. "Sir, I'm a commissioned officer. A search of this nature requires JAG approval." "You're accused of espionage, Sergeant." Blackwood's voice cut like a blade. "That supersedes your rank. Now you can cooperate or we can do this the hard way. Your choice." Kowalski stepped forward. "Face the wall, hands on the table." Mac complied. She'd been through searches before during training, but this felt different, humiliating, designed to break her down. Kowalski patted her down professionally, checking pockets, seams, waistband, found nothing. "She's clean, sir," Kowalski reported. Blackwood stood. He walked around the table, studying Mac like she was a specimen under glass. "You know what I think, Brennan? I think you're smart. Real smart. Smart enough to know that when you got caught, you'd need to play innocent, act confused, deny everything." He paused. "But here's what I can't figure out. Why? What did they pay you? What's the going rate for betraying your country these days?" Mac turned to face him. "Sir, with all due respect, you're wrong. I didn't leak anything. I'm loyal to—" "Got the balls to strip a SEAL?" Blackwood interrupted. Mac blinked. "Sir? That's what this is about, isn't it?" His voice dripped contempt. "You wanted to play with the big boys, be a SEAL, but you couldn't hack it, so you bought some credentials, faked your way in. And when you realized you were in over your head, you sold out." The accusation was so absurd that Mac almost laughed. Almost. "Sir, I never claimed to be—" "Strip," Blackwood said. Silence filled the room. "Excuse me?" Mac said quietly. "You heard me. Full search. Everything off. We're going to find whatever you're hiding. Mac's jaw tightened. Sir, this is an order. Blackwood crossed his arms. You want to refuse? Fine. I'll have you transferred to the brig right now, and we'll do this with a full security team. Your choice. The two master-at-arms were watching. Kowalski's face showed nothing. The younger man looked vaguely uncomfortable. Mac looked at Blackwood, really looked at him. She saw something in his eyes, something that wasn't quite anger. It was testing. She made a decision. Yes, sir. Her hands moved to her uniform shirt. She unbuttoned it slowly, methodically, let it fall to the floor. The sports bra underneath was regulation Navy issue, gray and functional. Kowalski stepped forward with a handheld metal detector, swept it over Mac's torso. Nothing. Mac kicked off her boots, unbuckled her belt, let her cargo pants drop. The room was silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. She stood in her sports bra and compression shorts. 5'4", 130 pounds of muscle and scar tissue. She'd broken her collarbone at 16 during a training accident, fractured her ankle at 19. There were other marks, the small burns on her forearms from hot brass, the calluses on her hands from 1,000 hours on the range. And there, on her left rib cage, was the tattoo. Kowalski saw it first. She froze, the metal detector hovering in midair. Sir, she said quietly. Blackwood looked. His expression changed. The tattoo was intricate, professional. A golden trident piercing an anchor, flanked by an eagle and a flintlock pistol. The seal trident, the most iconic symbol in naval special warfare. But that wasn't what made them stare. Below the trident, in small Roman numerals, was the number 7, and beneath that, a single word in elegant script, Wraith. Blackwood stepped closer. He studied the tattoo like it was written in a language he couldn't quite read. Where, he said slowly, did you get that? Mac met his eyes. My father gave it to me. Your father? Master Chief Thaddeus Brennan. They called him Reaper. Mac's voice was steady. He was SEAL Team 3. Served with you in Fallujah, sir. I believe you knew him. Blackwood's face went very still. Reaper Brennan is dead, he said. Killed in Syria, 2019. Yes, sir. And he gave you that? Blackwood gestured at the tattoo. Not directly. He left it for me. The design, instructions for the artist. He wanted me to have it after he was gone. Why? Mac took a breath. This was the moment, the point of no return. Because he founded Team 7, sir. SEAL Team 7, the Wraith Protocol, and he trained me to be part of it. The room erupted. The younger master-at-arms actually took a step back. Kowalski's mouth opened, closed again. Blackwood's face flushed red. That's impossible, he said. There is no SEAL Team 7. Women can't. Officially, there's no SEAL Team 7, Mac interrupted. Just like officially, I was never in Yemen. Just like officially, a lot of things don't exist. She paused. But unofficially, sir, Team 7 has been operational since 2015. 8 female operators, all trained by my father, all conducting missions that are too sensitive, too politically dangerous, or too culturally specific for traditional SEAL teams. Blackwood stared at her. You expect me to believe? I don't expect anything, sir. You asked for a search. You got one. Mac gestured at her tattoo. That's real. Earned. My father spent 12 years training me for this. From the time I was 8 years old, he taught me everything he knew. Marksmanship, CQB, demolitions, SERE training, all of it. Anyone can claim training, Blackwood said, but his voice had lost some of its edge. Yes, sir, anyone can claim it. Mac held his gaze. But not everyone can prove it. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Kowalski spoke. Sir, I think we should verify this. Blackwood's jaw worked. He was clearly struggling with something, some internal calculation. Fine, he said at last. Get dressed, Sergeant. We're going to the range. The shooting range was empty. Blackwood had cleared it, waving off the range safety officer and the handful of sailors who'd been qualifying. Mac stood at the 1,000-yard line. In front of her, on the bench, sat a Barrett M107. The big rifle gleamed in the afternoon sun. Load, Blackwood said. Mac picked up the magazine. 10 rounds of .50 caliber ammunition, each one longer than her hand. She seated the magazine with a solid click, pulled the charging handle, let it slam home. Target is at 1,000 yards, Blackwood said. Wind is 15 miles per hour, 3 o'clock. You get one shot. Mac looked downrange. The target was barely visible, a small, dark square against the hillside. She settled behind the rifle, adjusted the stock to her shoulder, felt the familiar weight, the perfect balance. Her right eye found the scope. The world narrowed to a circle of magnified vision. She could see the target now, dancing slightly in the heat shimmer. Wind from the right, 15 miles per hour. She clicked the windage adjustment. 2 clicks right. The bullet would drift left otherwise, pulled by the crosswind. Her breathing slowed. This was where she lived. This was home. The space between heartbeats. The moment before the shot. When everything became simple and clear. She squeezed. The Barrett roared. The recoil drove into her shoulder, but she rode it, kept her eye on the scope. Downrange, a spotting scope on a tripod showed the result. Blackwood looked through it. He straightened slowly. "Bullseye," he said. His voice was flat, controlled. Dead center. Max cycled the bolt, ejecting the spent casing. It hit the concrete with a brass ring. "Move the target to 1,400 yards, she said. Blackwood looked at her. "That's beyond effective range for most shooters." "I'm not most shooters, sir." Something changed in Blackwood's expression. Not quite respect, not yet, but recognition. He'd seen this before. The absolute certainty of a true professional. He keyed his radio. "Move target to 1,400. Downrange, a figure appeared from the safety bunker, pulled the target frame further up the hillside. The distance made the target almost invisible now, just a speck against the brown earth. Mac made her adjustments. Elevation, windage. She was calculating bullet drop, Coriolis effect, air density, variables most shooters never even considered. The math happened automatically, years of training making it instinctive. She fired. 5 seconds later, the time it took for the bullet to travel 1,400 yards, the target shuddered. Blackwood checked the spotting scope. He was quiet for a long moment. "Bullseye," he said finally. "Upper center ring." Max safed the rifle, stood up. "My father trained me at 1,800 yards, sir, in all weather conditions, day and night, moving targets, stationary targets, targets behind cover. This is warm-up." Blackwood turned to face her fully. His expression was unreadable. "Who else knows?" he asked quietly. "About Team 7? Just the people who need to know. And that USB drive? The leaked intel? Not mine, sir. Someone planted it. Someone who wants to discredit me, discredit the team, or both." Blackwood's radio crackled. "Colonel Blackwood, this is base security. We have a situation. Armory, Vault 12. Multiple intruders. Security team is engaging." Blackwood's hand went to his sidearm. "Vault 12? That's classified weapons storage," Mac finished. "Prototype systems and mission files." Their eyes met. "It's them," Mac said. "My team, Wraith 7. They're extracting the evidence before someone destroys it." "Evidence of what?" Mac's expression hardened. "Evidence that someone in Naval Special Warfare Command wants us dead, sir, and they're willing to kill anyone who gets in the way." Blackwood stared at her for 3 seconds. Mac could see him processing, calculating, making the same kind of tactical decision he'd made 1,000 times in combat. He keyed his radio. "All units converge on Vault 12. Non-lethal engagement only. I'm en route." He looked at Mac. "You're with me." and you better pray your team hasn't killed anyone. They ran for his vehicle, a black SUV parked at the range entrance. As Blackwood drove, lights flashing, Mac spoke. Sir, I need you to understand something. Whatever's happening at that vault, my team isn't the enemy. We're trying to stop one. You better be right, Sergeant. Blackwood's hands were white on the wheel. Because if you're wrong, you're going to Leavenworth for the rest of your life. The SUV screamed across the base, weaving between slower vehicles. In the distance, Mac could hear sirens, see the flashing lights converging on the armory complex. Her heart was pounding, but not from fear, from anticipation. Her team was in there. The women she'd trained with, fought beside. They'd saved each other's lives a dozen times over. And now, finally, after years in the shadows, they were about to step into the light. Blackwood slammed the brakes. They were outside Vault 12, a fortified bunker set into the hillside. Security personnel were everywhere, at least 20 armed sailors and Marines, taking cover behind vehicles, weapons drawn. And standing in the vault's entrance, hands raised but faces calm, were 4 women. Mac recognized them instantly. Corporal Sloane Garrett, 29, 5'6", built like a middleweight boxer. Her specialty was close-quarters battle. Mac had seen her clear a room of 6 hostiles in under 10 seconds. Lieutenant Fiona MacLeod, 31, red-haired, with a Scottish accent that got thicker when she was angry. Explosives expert. She could build a breaching charge from household materials and calculate blast radius in her head. Sergeant Kira Volkov, 28, pale blonde, with cheekbones that could cut glass. Russian defector who traded intelligence for citizenship. Hand-to-hand combat specialist. Mac had sparred with her once and ended up with 2 cracked ribs. And Petty Officer First Class Bryn Ashford, 27, with glasses and a perpetual expression of mild annoyance. MIT dropout who'd enlisted because she was bored. Signals intelligence and cyber warfare. She could hack Pentagon systems from a smartphone. They stood there surrounded by 24 weapons, looking utterly unafraid. Mac stepped out of the SUV. "Stand down," Blackwood roared at the security team. "Nobody fires unless I give the order." Mac walked forward slowly, hands visible. "Wraith team, status." Sloane, callsign Viper, spoke without taking her eyes off the security perimeter. "Mission accomplished, Wraith 1. Package secured. 0 casualties." "Where's the security team that was inside?" "Zip-tied in the ready room," Fiona, nomad, said in her Edinburgh accent. "They're fine. Bruised egos, nothing more." Blackwood appeared at Mac's shoulder. "What the hell is this?" Bryn, Cypher, held up a tablet. "Colonel Blackwood, you're going to want to see this." "I'm not—" "Yes, you are," Cypher interrupted. Her voice was quiet but absolute. "Because in about 30 seconds, someone is going to remote wipe these files. And once they're gone, the proof dies with them." Blackwood hesitated. Then he took the tablet. His face went pale as he read. "Jesus Christ," he whispered. Mac moved to his side, looked at the screen. What she saw made her blood run cold. It was a classified memo, dated 2 weeks ago, signed by Vice Admiral Clayton Kesler, Deputy Commander of Naval Special Warfare Command. The subject line read, "Operation Wraith Purge," and the first line was simple, direct, and unambiguous. SEAL Team 7 represents an unacceptable security risk and must be permanently eliminated. Mac's hands clenched into fists. "The Yemen mission was a setup," she said quietly. "A kill box. We were supposed to die there, but we survived." Blackwood looked up from the tablet, looked at her, then at the 4 women standing in the vault entrance. "How many of you are there?" he asked. 8 total, Mac said. 4 deployed overseas, 4 here. "And you're saying a vice admiral, a man with 30 years of service, ordered your execution?" "Read the rest, sir," Cypher said. Blackwood scrolled down. Mac watched his expression change from shock to horror to rage. The memo detailed everything. The $800 million arms trafficking operation. Sales of experimental drone technology to Saudi proxies. Banned chemical weapons precursors. Encrypted communication systems that had somehow ended up in the hands of militia groups. And at the center of it all, Vice Admiral Clayton Kesler. Team 7 had discovered the operation accidentally during a 2023 mission in Syria. They'd been tracking a high-value target when they stumbled onto a weapons cache that shouldn't have existed. American equipment, prototype systems, things that were supposed to be locked in secure facilities, not sitting in a terrorist compound. They'd reported it through channels, and 2 months later they'd been designated for termination. This is... Blackwood stopped, started again. This is treason, multiple counts. We're talking about a general court-martial, life imprisonment or death penalty. Yes, sir, Max said. That's why we needed this evidence before it disappeared. As if on cue, the tablet in Blackwood's hand chimed. Cypher grabbed it, her fingers flying across the screen. They're trying to remote access, she said. Sophisticated attack, military-grade cyber warfare. Her fingers moved faster. I'm blocking them, but they're persistent. Whoever's running this knows what they're doing. Can you stop them? Blackwood demanded. I already copied everything to an off-site secure server, Cypher said calmly. They can wipe this all they want. We have backups, multiple backups, encrypted, distributed. They're not getting rid of this evidence. Blackwood ran a hand over his face. Mac could see him processing, adjusting to a reality that had shifted under his feet. What do you need? He asked finally. Mac blinked. Sir? What do you need? Each word deliberate. Because if this is real, if even half of what's in this memo is real, then we have a vice admiral who's committed treason and attempted murder of federal personnel. And I'm not letting that stand. Mac felt something loosen in her chest. Hope, maybe. Or just relief that someone was finally listening. We need to move fast, she said. Kesler will know we have the evidence soon. He'll either run or attack. Based on his profile, I'm betting attack. Where? His private compound, Monterey Peninsula. It's where he keeps his insurance, the physical records, offshore account information, communications logs, everything we need to make this stick in a court of law. Blackwood looked at the 4 women, then back at Mac. You want to assault a vice admiral's home. I want to bring a traitor to justice, sir. With what? 6 operators against God knows how many private security? 8 operators, sir. We can recall the overseas team in 16 hours. That's not enough time. It's all the time we have, Mac interrupted. Sir, with respect, every hour we wait is another hour Kesler has to destroy evidence, disappear, or kill witnesses. We move tonight, or we might not get another chance. Blackwood stared at her. In his eyes, she saw the same calculations she'd seen in her father's eyes 1,000 times. The weight of command, the terrible mathematics of acceptable risk. I'll need authorization, he said finally. You won't get it, Max said bluntly. Kesler has allies, people who benefit from keeping this quiet. The moment you start making calls, they'll shut you down. So what are you suggesting? Mac met his eyes. I'm suggesting you trust us, sir, the same way my father trusted you in Fallujah, the same way SEALs have trusted each other for 70 years. The silence stretched. Somewhere in the distance, a jet engine roared. Normal base operations, continuing like the world wasn't falling apart. Blackwood made his decision. You have 16 hours, he said. Get your team together. Plan your op. I'll provide what support I can without tipping our hand. He paused. But Brennan, if this goes sideways, I can't protect you. None of you. You understand that? Yes, sir. And if you're lying to me, if this is some kind of setup, then I'll turn myself in personally, sir. You have my word. Blackwood nodded slowly. He looked at the 4 women again, really looked at them this time. Dismissed, he said, and God help us all. The safe house was a warehouse on the edge of San Diego's industrial district. Concrete walls, rusted metal doors, windows so grimy they were nearly opaque. From the outside, it looked abandoned. Inside, it was a tactical operations center. Mac pushed through the side entrance, her team following. The main floor opened into a vast space lit by LED work lights hanging from the rafters. In the center, a dozen folding tables had been arranged into a makeshift command post. Laptops, monitors, tactical maps spread across every surface. A weapons rack stood against the far wall, stocked with enough firepower to equip a small army. And standing near the weapons, waiting, were three more women. Captain Jessica Hawk Ridgway stepped forward first. 34 years old, former Army aviator who'd flown Black Hawks in Afghanistan before a training accident destroyed her left knee. She'd washed out of flight status, spent 2 years in physical therapy, and somehow convinced Reaper Brennan to give her a second chance. Now she was Team 7's tactical coordinator, the one who turned chaotic combat into choreographed precision. Next came Lieutenant Sarah Frost Kellerman, 29, blonde hair pulled back in a tight ponytail, ice blue eyes that never seemed to blink. Navy intel specialist who'd spent 3 years at NSA before requesting transfer to field operations. Her specialty was psychological operations and interrogation. Mac had seen Frost break a Taliban commander in 40 minutes using nothing but conversation. The third woman was the youngest, Ensign Rachel Smoke Donnelly, 25, barely 5 feet tall, with a runner's build and nervous energy that never stopped. Demolitions and chemical weapons specialist. She'd earned her call sign during training when she'd created a smoke grenade that burned for 20 minutes instead of the standard 2. Reaper had been so impressed, he'd spent 6 months teaching her everything he knew about explosives. Hawk crossed her arms. Mac, status? Compromised, Mac said flatly. Kesler knows we're alive, knows we have the evidence, and knows we're coming. The room went silent. Frost spoke next, her voice calm. Timeline? 16 hours until we move on his compound. Maybe less if he decides to run. Cypher was already at the computers, fingers flying across keyboards. Running trace algorithms on Kesler's digital footprint now. Bank accounts, phone records, travel arrangements. If he tries to rabbit, we'll know. Mac moved to the center table where a satellite image of Monterey Peninsula was spread out. Someone had marked it with red circles and annotations. Kesler's estate, Hawk said, joining her. 3 acres, clifftop property. Main house is 6,200 square feet. Guest house, security barracks, vehicle garage. Total of 11 structures. Security? Mac asked. Private contractor force. 25 personnel confirmed. Mix of former Blackwater, Triple Canopy, and DynCorp operators. Well-armed, well-trained. They rotate in 8-hour shifts, so at any given time, you're looking at 8 to 10 active guards. Sensors? Motion detectors on the perimeter. Pressure plates on the main driveway. Cameras covering every approach. Hawk traced her finger along the coastline. Only blind spot is here. Coastal approach from the water. Too steep for vehicles, barely accessible on foot. They assume nobody's crazy enough to try it. Max smiled grimly. Then that's where we go. Viper joined them at the table. Climbing gear? We'll need it. 200 feet of cliff face, minimum. Probably wet. Definitely slippery. Mac looked at her team. Who's current on technical climbing? 4 hands went up. Mac, Viper, Nomad, and Smoke. 4 climbers, Mac said. That leaves 4 for Overwatch and support. Hawk, you coordinate from here. Cypher, you're on electronic warfare. I need that security system, blind and deaf. Frost, your backup extraction if things go sideways. Widow, you're with Frost for heavy support. Widow spoke for the first time, her Russian accent making the words sharp. I should be on primary team. I am best at close combat. Which is why I need you on extraction, Mac countered. If we get pinned down, you and Frost punch through and get us out. Clear? Widow's jaw tightened, but she nodded. Clear. Cypher looked up from her computer. Got something. Kesler made 3 calls in the last hour. All encrypted, all to the same number. Took me 4 minutes to crack his encryption. She paused. That number belongs to a burner phone, currently active in San Diego. Location? Mac demanded. Triangulating now. Cypher's screen filled with maps, signal strength indicators, cell tower data. Got it. Naval Base San Diego, near Building 7. The room went cold. That's NCIS headquarters, Frost said quietly, where they interrogated you. Mac felt pieces clicking together in her mind. Blackwood. Kesler's calling someone near Blackwood. Or calling Blackwood, Viper said. The implication hung in the air like smoke. Mac's phone buzzed. She looked down. A text from Blackwood. Need to meet. Urgent. Come alone. She showed it to the team. It's a trap, Widow said immediately. Maybe, Mac said. Or maybe he's got information we need. Or maybe Kesler got to him, Cypher added. Offered him money, threatened his family, showed him evidence we fabricated. There are a dozen ways to flip someone. Mac thought about Blackwood at the range, the way he'd looked at her shooting, the way he'd made his decision to help them. That hadn't been an act. She'd spent enough time around operators to know real from fake. But people could change. Loyalty could be bought or broken. I'm going, she said. Not alone, Viper said flatly. He said alone. And I said you're not going alone. Viper's hand rested on her sidearm. We've lost enough people, Mac. I'm not losing you because you trusted the wrong person. Mac started to argue, then stopped. Viper was right. Tactically, emotionally, right. Fine, you're with me. But stay back. Give me room to talk. 20 minutes later, Mac was driving through base housing in a borrowed sedan. Viper sat in the back seat, concealed by tinted windows, a Glock 19 in her lap. The meeting spot was a park near the waterfront. Kids on playgrounds, families having picnics, joggers on the paths. Normal life, continuing in blissful ignorance. Blackwood sat on a bench facing the bay. He wore civilian clothes, jeans and a polo shirt, but his posture was pure military. Straight spine, alert eyes, hands visible. Mac approached slowly, sat down beside him, leaving 2 feet of space between them. Sir, she said. Sergeant. Blackwood didn't look at her. He stared out at the water where a carrier was moving toward the horizon. I did some checking, made some calls, discreet ones, and your father was who you said he was. Reaper Brennan, one of the best SEALs I ever served with. Blackwood's voice was quiet. I was there when he died, November 2019, Syria. At least, that's what the official report says. Mac's heart stuttered. You were there? Not there. I was stateside, but I got the notification, saw the flag-draped coffin come home, attended the memorial service at Fort Rosecrans. He finally turned to look at her. Except now I'm not so sure that was him in that coffin. Why not? Because I pulled his service record, and there are gaps, holes, missions that happen but don't have after-action reports, deployments to places we officially weren't operating. And then there's this. He handed her a folder. Mac opened it. Inside was a photograph, grainy and time-stamped. It showed her father, unmistakably him, even with the beard and the weight loss, talking to someone in what looked like a Middle Eastern marketplace. The date stamp read, March 2021, 16 months after he'd supposedly died. Mac's hands trembled. Where did you get this? CIA liaison officer, friend of mine. He was going through old surveillance footage from Yemen, and he saw this, thought it was interesting, sent it to me. Blackwood paused. That's your father, isn't it? Yes, Mac whispered. So he's alive. I don't know, maybe. This could be old footage with a wrong date stamp. Could be a look-alike. Could be... It's him, Blackwood said with certainty. I know Reaper's walk, his posture, the way he carries himself. That's him. Mac closed the folder, her mind racing. If her father was alive, if he'd faked his death, that changed everything. But why? Why disappear? Why let her believe he was dead? There's more, Blackwood said. I pulled records on Team 7, or tried to. There's nothing. No budget line, no personnel files, no operational history. It's like the team doesn't exist. It doesn't, officially. Right, but someone had to fund it. Someone had to provide equipment, training facilities, ammunition. Black budgets don't appear out of thin air. He looked at her directly. Who authorized Team 7? Mac hesitated. This was the question she'd been dreading. I don't know, she said finally. My father never told me. He said it was need to know, and I didn't need to know. But you must have theories. CIA, JSOC, maybe NSA, someone high enough to hide the money, low enough to stay off the radar. Mac shook her head. Does it matter? Team 7 exists. We've completed 18 missions in the last 4 years. Hostage rescues, intelligence gathering, direct action, all successful until Yemen. Blackwood was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, harder. Kesler called me 2 hours ago. Mac's hand drifted toward her concealed sidearm. He knows you have the evidence, Blackwood continued. He knows you're planning something, and he made me an offer. What kind of offer? The kind that comes with a numbered account in the Caymans and a promise that I'll never have to work again. Blackwood's laugh was bitter. $20 million. That's what my silence is worth, apparently. What did you tell him? I told him I'd think about it. Blackwood met her eyes. And then I started wondering, if Kesler's willing to pay $20 million to flip me, what's he willing to pay to flip someone else? Someone on your team, maybe? The implication was clear and terrifying. My team is solid, Max said. Your team is 7 women who've been operating in the shadows for years, taking orders from a dead man, risking their lives for missions that officially don't exist. No recognition, no credit, no backup if things go wrong. Blackwood leaned forward. That's a lot of stress, Brennan. A lot of resentment, and resentment makes people vulnerable. Mac wanted to argue, wanted to defend her team, their loyalty, their bond. But Blackwood wasn't wrong. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Because I want you to be careful. Because I've seen good people make bad choices when the pressure gets too high. He stood up. And because if you're going after Kesler tonight, I want you to succeed. Not just for you, for Reaper, for every operator who ever trusted the system to have their back. He started to walk away, then stopped. One more thing. That USB drive in your locker? I didn't plant it. Max stood quickly. Sir? I thought I did. I arranged for a drive to be placed there as a test, like I said. But when NCIS brought me the evidence, I checked the serial number. Different drive, different data. His face was grim. Someone else planted that USB. Someone who wanted you arrested, discredited, or dead. Who? I don't know, but whoever it is, they have access to secure facilities and your personal locker combination. Blackwood met her eyes one last time. Watch your back, Sergeant. Trust your team, but verify everything. He walked away, disappearing into the normal afternoon crowd of sailors and families. Max sat back down, processing. Viper emerged from the car, crossed to the bench. Well, he says there's a traitor, maybe on our team. Bullshit. Maybe, or maybe he's trying to divide us, make us paranoid. Mac rubbed her face. I don't know what to believe anymore. Believe in what you can verify, Viper said. We've got evidence on Kesler. We've got a mission. Focus on that. Mac nodded. But as they drove back to the warehouse, she couldn't shake Blackwood's warning. Trust your team, but verify everything. The warehouse felt different when they returned. The easy camaraderie had shifted into something tenser. Hawk was arguing with Frost about extraction routes. Widow was cleaning her weapons with aggressive precision. Smoke sat alone, staring at her laptop. Mac gathered everyone at the center table. "Update," she said. "Blackwood met with me. Kesler tried to bribe him. 20 million to keep quiet." Whistles around the room. "Blackwood declined," Mac continued, "but he warned me that Kesler might try the same approach with us. Divide and conquer, flip someone on the inside." "That's not happening," Hawk said immediately. "I know, but we need to be aware. Stay sharp. Watch for anything unusual." Mac looked at each of them. "We've trained together, fought together. We trust each other. But that trust has to be earned every day." "Understood?" Nods around the room. Cypher spoke up. "I've been monitoring Kesler's communications. He's locked down hard, using military-grade encryption, rotating burner phones, dead drops for physical messages. But I did catch something interesting." She brought up an image on the main monitor. It showed a bank statement, heavily redacted but still readable. "Offshore account, registered to a shell corporation in the Seychelles. In the last 6 months, this account has received wire transfers totaling $847 million. Frost leaned closer. "From where?" "Multiple sources. Defense contractors, foreign governments, private buyers, all routed through intermediaries, all technically legal if you squint hard enough." Cypher highlighted one line. "But this one is interesting. 50 million from a DoD black budget account, authorized by someone with flag-level clearance." "Kesler," Max said. "Probably, but here's where it gets weird." Cypher pulled up another screen. "That same account made a payment 3 days ago, $10 million, to a private security firm called Titan Shield Solutions." "Never heard of them," Viper said. "That's because they're ghosts. Formed 6 months ago, no public contracts, no listed clients. But their corporate address is in Virginia, and their CEO is former SEAL Team 6. Mac felt cold spreading through her chest. "Kesler hired private operators." "Gets better," Cypher said grimly. "Titan Shield has 23 employees on record. I cross-referenced with military databases. 15 are former special operations. SEAL, Delta, Rangers, Marine Recon. Top-tier talent." "Where are they now?" Hawk demanded. "That's the $10 million question, literally." Cypher typed rapidly. "I'm running searches through hotel registrations, rental car companies, credit card usage. Give me 10 minutes." While Cypher worked, Max studied the satellite images of Kesler's compound again. 25 security personnel, Hawk had said. But if Kesler had hired Titan Shield as reinforcements, that number could double. Or triple. 8 women against 50 trained operators. The math wasn't good. "Found them," Cypher announced. "Titan Shield booked 2 floors at a hotel in Monterey. 20 rooms. Check-in was yesterday." "They're already there," Frost said, "fortifying Kesler's defenses." Mac's phone buzzed. She looked down, expecting another text from Blackwood. Instead, it was an unknown number. The message was simple. "You have something I want. Let's trade." Max showed it to the team. "Kesler," Widow said. "Has to be," Hawk agreed. Mac typed back, "Trade what?" The response came immediately. "Your lives for my silence. Walk away now, and I'll forget this ever happened. Keep pushing, and I'll bury all of you." Viper read over Mac's shoulder. "He's scared. Making threats means he's desperate." "Or he's buying time," Frost countered, "keeping us talking while he sets up an ambush." Mac's finger hovered over the keyboard. She could respond, negotiate, try to buy time of their own. Or she could do what her father would have done. She typed, "No deal. See you tonight," and hit send. The room went silent. "Well," Nomad said in her Scottish accent, "that's that then. No more talking." "Gear up," Mac ordered. "We move in 4 hours. Cypher, I need that security system mapped and ready to compromise. Nomad, prepare breaching charges and climbing gear. Viper, weapons check on everything. Frost, Widow, Hawk, coordinate backup extraction. Smoke, I want contingency explosives ready if we need to blow an exit." The team scattered to their tasks. Mac stood alone at the center table, staring at the satellite image. Somewhere in that compound was evidence that could bring down a vice admiral. Evidence that could expose 800 million in illegal arms sales. Evidence that might explain why her father had faked his death. And standing between her and that evidence were 50 of the most dangerous men in the world. Mac, she turned. Nomad had approached silently. "You know this is probably a one-way trip," the Scottish woman said quietly. "I know. And you're going anyway?" "Yes." Nomad nodded slowly. "Your Da would be proud. He always said you had more guts than sense." Max smiled despite herself. "He said that to you?" "Aye. The night before he died. Or the night before he pretended to die. We were on a training exercise and he was talking about you. Said you reminded him of himself at your age. Too brave, too loyal, too damn stubborn to quit even when quitting was the smart move." "You were there? The night he died?" Nomad's expression shifted. Something painful flickered across her face. "No, I was stateside. But he called me, said he had something important to tell me. Then the line went dead, and the next day they told us he was KIA. She paused. "I never got to hear what he wanted to say." Mac felt a chill. What if he knew? What if he knew someone was coming for him, and he was trying to warn you? "Then he failed," Nomad said bluntly. "And we can't fail tonight. Too many people counting on us." She walked away, leaving Mac with her thoughts. The next 4 hours passed in controlled chaos. Equipment was checked, rechecked, and checked again. Cypher built a complete digital model of Kesler's security system, identifying every camera, every sensor, every potential point of failure. Nomad prepared enough breaching charges to blow through a bank vault. Viper loaded magazines, tested weapons, and ran combat drills until everyone's muscle memory was perfect. Max spent the time planning contingencies, backup plans for the backup plans, exit strategies, rally points, medical procedures if someone got hit. At midnight, they gathered for final briefing. Max stood before her team, all 8 women in full tactical gear. Black uniforms, plate carriers, helmets with night vision mounts. They looked like shadows given human form. "Last chance to walk away," Max said. "No judgment, no questions. This mission is unsanctioned, illegal, and probably suicidal. Anyone wants out, now's the time." Nobody moved. "All right then," Mac pulled up the tactical map on the tablet. "Approaches by boat from the water. Nomad, Viper, Smoke, and I make the climb. Cypher compromises security from here, remotely. Hawk coordinates. Frost and Widow are backup extraction, positioned 2 miles north in a vehicle." "Primary objective?" Hawk asked. "Kesler's safe. Should be in his study, northeast corner of the main house. Cypher's blueprints show reinforced walls, probably steel-lined. Nomad handles breaching. Once we're in, we grab everything. Hard drives, documents, whatever we can carry. Secondary objective? Frost. Kesler himself. If we can take him alive, we do. He'll be more valuable as a witness." Mac paused. "But if it's him or us, we choose us. Clear?" 8 nods. Titan Shield operators are the wild card. We don't know how many will be active, how they're deployed, or what their rules of engagement are. Assume they're authorized to use lethal force. Assume they're better trained than regular security, and assume they won't hesitate. "What about Blackwood?" Widow asked. "He's aware we're moving tonight, but I didn't give him specifics. If this goes wrong, I don't want him implicated." Mac looked at each of them. "Questions?" Smoke raised her hand. "What if we find evidence that your father is alive?" The question hung in the air. Mac had been avoiding thinking about it. The possibility that Reaper Brennan hadn't died in Syria, that he'd been alive all this time, hidden, working some deep cover operation she couldn't imagine. "If he's alive," Mac said slowly, "then we find out why, and we bring him home. And if he's not," Viper pressed, "then we finish what he started. Mac's voice was steel. Team 7 was his legacy. We honor that, no matter what. She checked her watch. 100 hours. Load up, she ordered. We've got a 3-hour drive to Monterey and a vice admiral to arrest. They moved as one, flowing toward the vehicles parked in the warehouse bay. 2 SUVs, both stolen earlier from a military impound lot. Untraceable, expendable. Mac paused at the door, looked back at the warehouse. The makeshift command center, the weapons racks, the laptops still glowing with tactical data. This might be the last time she saw it. Mac, Cypher called, you need to see this. Mac jogged back to the computer station. Cypher had a phone in her hand, screen showing a video call. It's Blackwood, Cypher said, and he sounds scared. Mac took the phone. Blackwood's face filled the screen, but something was wrong. His left eye was swollen shut, blood dripping from his nose. Brennan, he said thickly, don't go to Monterey. Sir, what happened? They know. Kesler knows your entire plan. He's got 50 men waiting for you. It's a kill box. Blackwood coughed, spat blood. He had people watching me. They grabbed me 2 hours ago. Mac's blood ran cold. Where are you? Doesn't matter. Listen to me. There's a mole. Someone on your team fed Kesler your operational plan. Someone told him everything. The warehouse went silent. Who? Mac demanded. I don't know, but Kesler does, and he's using it. He's going to... The video cut to black. Mac stared at the dead screen. Then slowly, deliberately, she turned to face her team. 7 women stared back. 7 faces she trusted with her life. One of them was a traitor. Mac's hand moved to her sidearm. Not drawing, just resting there. A reminder that she could if she needed to. 7 faces stared back at her. 7 women she'd trained with, bled with, trusted with her life. The silence in the warehouse stretched like wire pulled too tight. Viper spoke first. Mac, you can't seriously think... Blackwood said there's a mole. Mac's voice was flat, controlled. Someone gave Kesler our operational plan. Someone on this team. Blackwood could be lying, Frost said. Her ice-blue eyes were unreadable. Could be playing us, trying to make us turn on each other. Or he could be telling the truth, Widow countered. Her Russian accent was sharper now, stressed. And one of us is traitor. No, Hawk stepped forward, her hands raised peacefully. No, this is exactly what Kesler wants. He wants us divided, suspicious, weak. We start doubting each other. We're already dead. Max studied each face, looking for tells, micro-expressions, the tiny signals her father had taught her to read. Cypher's jaw was clenched, her fingers twitching toward her keyboard. Nomad's hands were loose at her sides, but her weight was on the balls of her feet. Combat stance. Smoke had gone pale, her breathing shallow. Viper's eyes were moving, tracking everyone in the room. Frost was perfectly still, like a statue. Widow's hand rested on her knife handle. Hawk was watching Mac, calculating. Any of them could be guilty. All of them looked scared. We don't have time for this, Mac said finally. Kesler knows we're coming, which means our current plan is dead. We need a new one. We should abort, Smoke said quickly. Regroup. Figure out who the mole is before... No, Mac's voice cut like a blade. We abort, Kesler disappears, takes his evidence, his money, and vanishes into whatever hole he's prepared. We'll never get another shot at him. So what do you suggest? Frost asked. Walk into a trap we know is waiting? Mac moved to the tactical table, stared at the satellite image of Kesler's compound. 50 operators waiting, security systems on full alert, every approach covered. It was impossible. Unless... Cypher, Mac said slowly, you said Titan's Shield booked 2 floors at a hotel in Monterey. 20 rooms. Yes. How many of those rooms are currently occupied? Cypher's fingers flew across her keyboard. Checking now. Hotel uses electronic key cards. I can access their system. Pause. Got it. 18 rooms have been accessed in the last 12 hours. 2 are empty. So 18 operators are at the hotel. That leaves maybe 7 at the compound, plus Kesler's regular security. Still 32 hostiles, Viper pointed out, but not 50. Mac's mind was racing. What if we don't go to the compound? The room went quiet. What if we go to the hotel? Mac continued. Hit Titan shield before they can deploy. Take them out of the equation entirely. That's insane, Hawk said. We'd be attacking a hotel. Civilians everywhere. Police response time would be minutes. Not if we do it right. Mac looked at Cypher. Can you trigger a fire alarm? Evacuate the building? Yes, but hotel security will investigate before calling fire department. Standard procedure. Good. That gives us a window. Mac turned to Nomad. How long to clear 2 floors of hostiles? The Scottish woman thought for a moment. With flashbangs and speed, 4 operators moving in pairs, maybe 10 minutes if they're caught off guard. They won't be off guard, Frost interjected. The second that alarm goes off, they'll know something's wrong. But they won't know what, Mac countered. Could be a real fire, could be a drunk guest, could be hotel malfunction. They'll be alert, but they won't be deployed. And that's when we hit them. Widow was nodding slowly. Is good plan. Hit them where they sleep, not where they fight. What about Kesler? Smoke asked. He's still at the compound with his evidence. Kesler without Titan's shield is just an old man with regular security guards, Max said. We neutralize his reinforcements, then we go for him. But we do it our way, on our timeline. She looked around the room, saw the calculation happening behind 7 pairs of eyes. Vote, Max said. Abort the mission entirely or change targets to the hotel first. Viper's hand went up immediately. Hotel. Hotel, Nomad agreed. Hotel, from Widow. Frost hesitated, then raised her hand. Hotel. Smoke looked terrified, but she nodded. Hotel. Hawk was last. This is still suicide. You know that, right? I know, Max said. Hotel, Hawk said, raising her hand. All eyes turned to Cypher. The young woman sat at her computer, face illuminated by the blue glow of multiple screens. Cypher? Mac prompted. I'm already hacking the hotel's systems, Cypher said without looking up. Fire suppression, security cameras, elevator controls, electronic locks. Give me 20 minutes and I'll own that building. Mac felt something loosen in her chest. Relief. Or maybe just the acceptance that they were committed now. No turning back. Gear up, she ordered. We move in 15. They loaded into the SUVs at 0145. Mac drove the lead vehicle with Viper, Nomad, and Hawk. Frost took the second with Widow and Smoke. Cypher stayed behind to run remote operations. Both vehicles were equipped with police band scanners, trauma kits, and enough ammunition to fight a small war. The drive to Monterey took 3 hours. They moved north on Highway 1, the Pacific Ocean a vast darkness to their left. Mac drove in silence, her mind running through scenarios, contingencies, what-ifs. Hawk sat in the back, laptop balanced on her knees, connected to Cypher's network via satellite uplink. Hotel security system is compromised, Hawk announced, relaying from Cypher. She's got access to every camera, every lock, every sensor, looping the footage now so they won't see us coming. Titan Shield's rooms? Mac asked. 5th and 6th floors, East Wing. Looks like they took over that entire section. Smart. Defensible position, limited access points. How many stairwells? 2, north and south, plus elevators in the center, but we're not using those. Fire escapes? External, east and west sides. Mac processed the layout in her head. We go up both stairwells simultaneously, 2-person teams. Clear floor 5 first, then 6. Nomad and I take south stairs, Viper and Frost take north. Widow and Smoke on overwatch at ground level. Hawk coordinates remotely. What about civilians? Frost asked from the other vehicle via radio. Fire alarm evacuates them before we enter. Anyone still in the building after that is either Titan Shield or didn't get the message. We treat them as hostile until confirmed otherwise. They reached Monterey at 0430. The city was quiet, early morning darkness broken only by streetlights and the occasional car. The hotel was a 12-story tower near the waterfront. Expensive, discreet, the kind of place that didn't ask questions about guests paying cash for multiple rooms. Mac parked 2 blocks away. Frost found a spot with clear sight lines to the hotel entrance. "Positions," Mac ordered. The team moved like shadows. Viper and Frost disappeared toward the north side of the building. Widow and Smoke took up positions in a parking structure across the street, setting up a sniper nest with a clear view of the hotel's exits. Hawk remained in the vehicle, laptop connected to Cypher's network. Mac and Nomad approached the south fire escape. The metal ladder was cold under Mac's gloves. "Cypher status," Mac whispered into her radio. "All systems green," Hawk relayed. "Fire alarm ready to activate on your mark. Security cameras are showing loop footage. You're ghosts." Mac looked at Nomad. The Scottish woman's face was painted with camouflage, her red hair hidden under a black beanie. She held a Benelli M4 shotgun loaded with breaching rounds. "Ready?" Mac asked. "Aye." "Viper, Frost, you in position?" "North stairs ready," Viper confirmed. Mac checked her watch. 0455. "Cypher, trigger the alarm. 30-second delay, then we move." "Alarm activated," Hawk said. "Clock's running." The fire alarm's wail cut through the night. Inside the hotel, Mac could see lights coming on, movement behind windows, people stumbling out of rooms, confused and annoyed. She counted. 30 seconds. Civilians would be flooding the stairwells, heading down and out. But Titan Shield wouldn't. They were professionals. They'd wait, assess, determine if it was a real threat or a diversion. That hesitation would cost them. "Move," Mac said. She and Nomad went up the fire escape fast, reaching the 5th floor in seconds. Mac tested the fire door. Locked from inside. Standard security measure. Nomad. The Scottish woman produced a small explosive charge, no bigger than a deck of cards, placed it against the lock mechanism. They moved to the side. The explosion was sharp, controlled. The door blew inward. Mac went through first, HK 416, up and ready. The hallway was empty, doors on both sides, numbered in brass. Emergency lighting cast everything in red. 5th floor, south side clear, she reported. 5th floor, north side, 2 hostiles engaging. Viper's voice came back, followed by the suppressed cough of gunfire. Mac moved down the hallway. Room 512, according to Cypher's intel, occupied by Titan Shield personnel. She stacked up on one side of the door, Nomad on the other. Mac tried the handle, locked. Nomad used another breaching charge, smaller this time, just enough to blow the lock. Boom! Mac kicked the door open, swept in. The room was empty, bed unmade, tactical gear scattered around, but no occupant. "Clear," she called. They moved to the next room. 514. Same procedure. Breach, enter, clear. This time, someone was home. A man in his 30s, muscular, wearing boxer shorts and reaching for a pistol on the nightstand. Former military, judging by the scars and tattoos. Mac's rounds caught him in the chest before he touched the weapon. 3 shots, center mass. He went down hard. 5th floor, south side, 1 hostile down, Mac reported. Her voice was steady despite the adrenaline screaming through her veins. From the north side, 2 more down, moving to 6. Mac and Nomad continued their sweep. Room 516, empty. Room 518, 1 hostile, neutralized. Room 520, 2 hostiles, both eliminated in a brief, brutal exchange of gunfire that left Mac's ears ringing despite her hearing protection. By the time they reached the stairwell to the 6th floor, Mac's magazine was half empty and her heart was hammering. 5th floor secure, she reported. 4 hostiles down on south side. 6 down on north side, Viper confirmed. Moving to 6. The 6th floor was different. The moment Mac opened the stairwell door, she knew they'd lost the element of surprise. The hallway was darker, illuminated only by muzzle flashes as automatic weapons fire tore through the walls. She dropped flat, dragging Nomad down with her. Bullets chewed through the doorframe above their heads. Contact! 6th floor, south side, multiple hostiles with automatic weapons. Mac low-crawled forward, staying below the line of fire. Returned fire blind, just enough to make the shooters take cover. Grabbed a flashbang from her vest, pulled the pin, threw it. The explosion was deafening in the enclosed space. Mac was up and moving before the echo faded. 3 men in the hallway, disoriented from the flashbang. She engaged the closest one, double-tapped to the chest. Nomad took the second with her shotgun, the blast nearly cutting him in half at close range. The 3rd man got his rifle up. Mac felt the bullet crack past her head. So close she felt the heat. She dove sideways, fired from the ground. Caught him in the leg. He went down screaming. Nomad finished him with a point-blank shot. South side, 3 more down, Mac gasped. Taking heavy resistance. North side the same, Viper reported. These guys are ready. They knew we were coming. The mole. Someone had warned them. Mac and Nomad cleared the rest of the south side. 2 more rooms, 2 more firefights, 3 more bodies. By the time they reached the end of the hallway, Mac had burns on her hands from hot barrel changes, and her ears were completely shot. 6th floor, south side clear, she reported. Total count, 10 hostiles eliminated. North side clear, Viper confirmed. 8 more down. 18 Titan shield operators, all dead. Mac felt sick. This wasn't combat, this was slaughter. These men had been soldiers once, serving their country. Now they were corpses in a hotel hallway because they'd taken dirty money from the wrong admiral. Widow, smoke, status, Mac called. Ground level secure, Widow reported. 3 attempted to escape via main entrance, all neutralized. 21. Mac did the math. Cypher said 18 rooms were occupied. They'd killed 21 Titan shield operators, which meant 3 had been sharing rooms. Or 3 had come from somewhere else. Or the count was wrong. Exfil, Mac ordered. Everyone out. Now. They moved fast, back down the fire escapes. Mac's legs were shaking from adrenaline dump. Behind them, the hotel was chaos. Fire alarms still wailing, emergency lights flashing, and 21 bodies cooling in the upper floors. Police sirens in the distance, getting closer. The team converged on the vehicles. Mac did a quick head count. Everyone accounted for. Viper had a graze on her arm. Frost's face was splattered with blood that wasn't hers. Smoke looked she was going to be sick, but they were alive. Go, Mac ordered. Hawk drove. Mac sat in the passenger seat, watching the hotel recede in the side mirror. She could see emergency vehicles arriving. Police cars, fire trucks, ambulances. They'd find the bodies soon. The investigation would be massive. But by then, Team 7 would be gone. Hawk, have the remote team scrub everything, Mac said. Camera footage, electronic records, keycard logs. Make it look like we were never there. Already done, Hawk said, relaying from Cypher. She looked pale. Mac, Cypher thinks she made a mistake. What kind of mistake? The room count. She said 18 rooms were occupied, but she only checked keycard access. She didn't verify how many people were in each room. How many did we actually kill? 21 at the hotel, but Titan Shield's roster shows 23 employees. Mac felt cold settle in her stomach. Where are the other 2? Unknown. They're not at the hotel. They're not at Kesler's compound according to thermal imaging. They're just gone. Viper leaned forward from the back seat. Could they be the mole's backup, waiting somewhere to ambush us? Or they could be protecting something else, Frost suggested. Something we don't know about. Mac's phone buzzed. She looked down. Another message from the unknown number. Kesler. You just killed 21 men, former soldiers, heroes. Was it worth it? Max stared at the message. Then she typed back, they chose their side. I chose mine. Where are you? The response came immediately. Closer than you think, and I have something you want. A photo loaded. Max's breath caught. It showed a man, older, gaunt, with a gray beard and haunted eyes. But she'd know that face anywhere. Had seen it every day of her childhood. Master Chief Thaddeus Reaper Brennan. Her father. Alive. Oh my God, Nomad whispered, looking over Max's shoulder. Max's hands trembled. Where is he? Come to the compound, alone, unarmed, and I'll let you talk to him. It's a trap, Viper said immediately. Of course it was a trap. Kesler was dangling the one thing Mac couldn't resist, the chance to see her father again, to know the truth. I'm going, Mac said. No, Hawk's voice was firm. Mac, you can't. The second you walk in there alone, you're dead. Then I'm dead. Mac looked at the photo again. Her father, alive. After 5 years of believing he was gone, of carrying that grief like a weight she couldn't put down. But I have to know. I have to see him. We all go, Viper said. Together. That was always the plan. Kesler said alone. Kessler's a liar and a traitor, Frost pointed out. You think he's going to honor his word? Mac knew they were right. Knew that walking into Kessler's compound alone was suicide. But the alternative was living the rest of her life wondering. Was her father really alive? Was he prisoner? Was he working with Kesler? She needed answers. New plan, Max said. We go to the compound, but we do it smart. Viper, Nomad, and I make the approach. Rest of you provide overwatch and backup. Hawk runs interference on their security remotely. We get in, confirm my father is there, extract him, and get out. And Kesler? Widow asked. If we can take him alive, we do. If not, Mac's voice went hard. Then we don't. They drove toward the compound in silence. Dawn was breaking over the Pacific, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Beautiful, peaceful, completely at odds with the violence of the last few hours. The compound sat on a cliff overlooking the ocean. 3 acres of manicured grounds, surrounded by a 12-foot wall topped with cameras and sensors. The main house was a modernist structure of glass and steel, designed to show off wealth and power. Max studied it through binoculars from a ridge a quarter-mile away. Thermal imaging shows 8 heat signatures inside the main house, Hawk reported, relaying from Cypher. 3 on the ground floor, 2 on the second floor, 3 in the basement. Basement, Max said. That's where he'd keep a prisoner. Underground, soundproof, secure. Could also be where he keeps his evidence, Viper added. Hawk, can you get us inside? Their security system is more sophisticated than the hotel. Military-grade encryption. But Cypher can create blind spots in the camera coverage, give you a 30-second window to breach the perimeter. What about the guards? That's on you. Mac lowered the binoculars, looked at Viper and Nomad. Thoughts? 3 of us against 8 hostiles in a fortified position, Viper said. Terrible odds. But they're expecting you alone, Nomad pointed out. Element of surprise. And we've already taken out Titan Shield, Viper continued. So these are just regular security, not special operations. Still dangerous, Max said. Still deadly. Aye, Nomad agreed. But so are we. Mac made her decision. We go. Fast and violent. No hesitation, no mercy. We clear the house, find my father, and extract. Questions? None. Hawk, give us that 30-second window. Stand by. Pause. Okay, cameras are looping. You've got your window. Starting. Now. Mac ran. Viper and Nomad flanked her, all 3 moving in a tactical wedge. They covered the distance to the wall in 20 seconds. Nomad produced a folding grappling hook, threw it over the top. They climbed fast, dropped into the grounds on the other side. 2 guards were patrolling the garden. They turned at the sound of footsteps. Never got their weapons up. Mac and Viper engaged simultaneously. Suppressed shots. Both guards dropped. Ground floor. 2 hostiles down, Mac reported. They moved toward the house. A 3rd guard appeared from around a corner. Nomad took him with her shotgun before he could raise the alarm. 3 down. The main entrance was glass. Mac could see through it into a marble foyer. A guard station with monitors. 1 man sitting, watching screens. Nomad placed a breaching charge on the glass door. They stacked up. Boom. The glass exploded inward. Mac went through first, shooting the guard before he could even stand. He fell across his monitors, blood splattering the screens. 4 down. Gunfire erupted from the 2nd floor. Mac dove behind a marble pillar as bullets chewed through the air where she'd been standing. Viper returned fire, forcing the shooter to take cover. 2nd floor, at least 2 hostiles, Viper reported. Mac pulled another flashbang, threw it up the curved staircase. The explosion brought screams. She and Viper went up the stairs in a rush, weapons firing. 2 more guards, both disoriented from the flashbang. Both went down hard. 6 down, 2 remaining, probably basement. They found the basement door off the kitchen, reinforced steel, electronically locked. Nomad's breaching charge blew it open, but the explosion was louder this time. Whoever was downstairs would know they were coming. Mac descended first. The stairs were narrow, concrete, lit by harsh, fluorescent tubes. At the bottom was another door. This one was already open. Beyond it, a large room. Computer servers along one wall, file cabinets, a desk with multiple monitors, and in the center, sitting calmly in a leather chair, was Vice Admiral Clayton Kesler. He was 61, but he looked older. Gray hair, weathered face, the bearing of a man who'd spent 30 years commanding others. He wore a polo shirt and khakis, casual, like he was expecting guests for drinks, not a tactical assault. "Sergeant Brennan," he said pleasantly, "you brought friends. I specifically said to come alone." Mac's rifle was pointed at his chest. "Where is he? Where's my father?" "Safe, for now." Kesler gestured to a monitor. It showed a cell, concrete walls, a cot, a bucket. And sitting on that cot, looking directly at the camera, was Reaper Brennan. Mac's world tilted. It was really him, older, thinner, marked by captivity, but alive. "Let him go," Mac said. "Let's negotiate," Kesler countered. "You want him. I want you to disappear. We can both get what we want." "No deal." "Then he dies." Kesler pulled a small remote from his pocket. "This cell is rigged with explosives. I press this button, and your father ceases to exist, along with all the evidence in this room." Mac's finger tightened on the trigger. "You'll die too." "I'm a dead man already," Kesler said calmly. "You killed 21 of my operators. You've compromised my operation. My accounts will be frozen by morning. I have nothing left to lose." He smiled. "But you do. You have a father to lose. Again." "Don't," Viper warned. "Mac, don't listen to him." But Mac was listening, looking at the monitor, at her father's face. Reaper was staring at the camera, and his lips were moving, forming words silently. Mac had grown up reading her father's lips when he taught her hand signals. When stealth required silence, she knew his face better than her own. The words he was forming. "Fake. Explosives. Fake." Mac's eyes widened. She looked at Kesler with new understanding. "You're bluffing," she said. Kessler's smile faltered. "Just for a second." "Am I?" He held up the remote. "Want to find out?" Mac lowered her rifle slightly. "Where is he? Really?" "In a cell, I told you." "Where's the cell?" "Here, in this basement." Mac looked around. One room, no doors except the one they'd entered through. No cell visible. "Hawk," Mac said into her radio. "Thermal imaging. How many heat signatures in this basement?" A pause, then, 3, you, Viper, Nomad. "Not 4?" "Not 4." Mac looked at the monitor again, at her father's image. It was high quality, real time, showing him breathing, moving, but it wasn't live. "It's a recording," Mac said. "Looped footage. My father isn't here." Kessler's calm facade cracked. "You can't know that." "I do know, because he just told me." Mac raised her rifle again. "Where is he? Really?" Before Kessler could answer, Nomad shouted, "Movement! Stairs!" Mac spun. Two figures appeared in the stairwell doorway, both armed, both familiar. One was Frost, the other was Cypher. But they weren't coming to help. Their weapons were pointed at Mac, Viper, and Nomad. "I'm sorry," Cypher said quietly, "but I can't let you kill him." The world seemed to stop. Frost spoke next, her voice cold. "Lower your weapons, now." Mac stared. "You? Both of you?" "Kessler paid well," Frost said, "and he promised protection, something Team 7 could never offer." "We trusted you," Viper breathed. "That was your mistake," Frost replied. Kessler stood up, smiling now. "Good work, ladies. I knew you'd come through." Mac's mind raced. Two traitors, two of her own team, bought by money and promises. And now they had the drop, weapons ready, fingers on triggers. "Mac," Nomad whispered, "what do we do?" Before Mac could answer, Nomad moved. Not toward Frost and Cypher, toward Kesler. The Scottish woman's shotgun swung up, aimed not at the traitors, but at the vice admiral. "Drop the remote, sir, now." Kessler's smile widened. "You think that'll save you? The moment you shoot me, they shoot you." "Maybe," Nomad said, "but you'll still be dead." The standoff stretched. 4 weapons pointed, 4 fingers on triggers. One wrong move and everyone died. Then Blackwood's voice crackled over the radio. "Brennan, if you can hear me, hit the deck. 3 seconds." Mac didn't hesitate. "Down!" She and Nomad dropped flat. Viper rolled behind a server rack. The window above them exploded inward. 2 flashbangs tumbled through, detonating simultaneously. The basement turned white, sound collapsing into a single, crushing wave. Mac's ears rang, but muscle memory took over. She was up, moving, firing. Frost and Cypher were both on the ground, disoriented, weapons dropped. When Mac's vision cleared, Blackwood stood in the doorway with a tactical team. 6 operators in full gear, weapons trained on the traitors. His face was bruised, one eye swollen shut, but his stance was solid. "Clear," Blackwood said. "Kesler?" Mac spun. The vice admiral was gone. The hidden panel stood open, darkness beyond. "Tunnel!" Mac shouted. "He's running!" She chased him through it, found herself in a tunnel, concrete, narrow, sloping upward. Kesler was 30 feet ahead, running hard for a man his age. Mac sprinted after him. Behind her, she could hear Viper and Nomad following. The tunnel opened onto the cliff face. A wooden platform, stairs leading down to the ocean. A boat waited below, engine running. Kesler was halfway down the stairs when Mac burst onto the platform. "Stop!" she shouted. He turned, and in his hand was a pistol. Not the remote, a real weapon. He fired. Mac dove sideways. The bullet whined past her. She rolled, came up shooting. Her rounds splintered the wood around Kesler, forcing him to duck. He returned fire, then turned and ran down the stairs. Mac followed. The stairs were slick with sea spray, dangerous. Kesler reached the boat, jumped in, started to cast off. Mac jumped, soared through the air, crashed into the boat just as it pulled away from the dock. Both of them went down in a tangle. Kesler was 61, but he'd been a SEAL once. He knew how to fight. His elbow caught Mac in the ribs, driving the air from her lungs. She grabbed his arm, twisted, tried to throw him off balance. They grappled in the small boat, rolling, punching, each trying to gain the upper hand. The boat rocked wildly. Waves crashed against its hull. Kesler got his hands around Mac's throat, squeezed. She couldn't breathe, Couldn't think. Black spots danced in her vision. She remembered her father's teaching. When you can't overpower, use leverage. Mac brought her knee up hard between Kesler's legs. He grunted, loosened his grip. She twisted, threw him off. They separated, both gasping. "You can't win," Kesler said. "Even if you kill me, you can't prove anything. I've destroyed the evidence, erased the files. Your father is gone, and you'll never find him." "You're lying," Max said, but doubt crept in. "Am I?" Kesler smiled. "Your father was a great man. He deserved better than what I gave him. But he knew too much, just like you. And now you'll both disappear." He lunged. Max sidestepped, grabbed his arm, used his momentum against him, threw him toward the edge of the boat. Kesler teetered, grabbed the railing, looked back at Mac with hate in his eyes. "Go ahead," he said. "Push me. Kill an unarmed man. Become everything I said you were." Max stood there, breathing hard. She could do it. One push. End him. End this. But her father's voice echoed in her mind. Justice, not murder. She reached for Kesler, to pull him back, to arrest him. But his hand wasn't empty. He'd been hiding it. A small pistol, a backup piece. He brought it up fast, aimed at Mac's chest. The gunshot was incredibly loud. Kessler's eyes widened. Blood bloomed on his shirt. He looked down at the wound, confused. Then he fell backward, over the railing, into the ocean. Max spun. On the cliff above, Viper stood with a rifle, smoke still rising from the barrel. "You okay?" Viper called down. Max stared at the water where Kesler had disappeared. "Yeah, I'm okay." But she wasn't. Not really. Back at the compound, Blackwood's team had secured Frost and Cypher. Both women were alive, wounded, but breathing, zip-tied and disarmed. "They talked," Blackwood said. His face was a mess of bruises, but his voice was steady. "Kesler paid them each $5 million, promised them new identities, protection, everything they wanted." "Did they say where my father is?" Mac asked. "No, they claim Kesler never told them." Mac looked at Frost. The ice-blue eyes were defiant, unrepentant. "You betrayed us," Mac said quietly. "I survived," Frost replied. "That's all that matters." Mac wanted to hit her, wanted to scream, but there was no time. Police would be coming. FBI, maybe worse. "We need to move," Viper said. "Gather everything we can and go." They spent 15 minutes grabbing files, hard drives, anything that looked important from Kessler's basement. Hawk guided them remotely through what to take, relaying instructions from Cypher's analysis. Then they ran. Back over the wall, back to the vehicles, back toward safety. As they drove away, Mac looked back at the compound one last time. Somewhere in there had been answers. The truth about her father, about Team 7, about everything. But all she had were more questions. They rendezvoused at a new safe house, an abandoned farm 30 miles inland. The team gathered in the barn, exhausted, bloody, traumatized. Hawk did a head count. 6 present, 2 traitors in custody, everyone else accounted for. "What about Blackwood?" Mac asked. He stayed behind with his team, said he'd handle the official response. Mac's stomach tightened. "We need to find out what happened to him, make sure he's safe." "We need to find your father first," Viper said gently. Max sat down heavily on a hay bale. The weight of the last 12 hours crashed down on her. The hotel, the firefight, the betrayal, Kessler's death, and still no answers. "I failed," she said quietly. "No," Nomad knelt in front of her. "You didn't fail. You exposed Kesler. You stopped his trafficking operation. You eliminated his private army. That's not failure." "But my father." "We'll find him," Nomad promised. "Even if it takes years, we'll find him." Mac wanted to believe that, wanted to have hope. But the video of her father's face kept playing in her mind. Was it really a recording? Or was he somewhere, right now, waiting for rescue that would never come? Her phone buzzed. Everyone tensed. Mac pulled it out slowly. A text from an unknown number, different from Kesler's. "Well done, Sergeant Brennan. You passed the test." Mac stared at the message. "What test?" "Your father's test. He needed to know if you were ready, if Team 7 was ready. Now he knows." Who is this? Someone who's been watching. Someone who knows the truth. "If you want answers, come to Fort Rosecrans National Cemetery, your father's grave. Alone. Midnight tonight." "It's another trap," Viper said, reading over her shoulder. "Probably," Mac agreed. "You're not going." Mac looked at her team. These women she'd trusted with her life, who'd bled for her, fought for her, almost died for her. 2 of them had betrayed her, but 4 had stayed true. "I'm going," Mac said, "but this time, I'm doing it smart. Overwatch positions, backup plans, extraction routes. We control the terrain, we control the engagement." "And if it's really a trap?" Smoke asked nervously. "Then we spring it," Mac said, "and we deal with whoever's on the other end." Fort Rosecrans National Cemetery sat on a peninsula overlooking San Diego Bay. Thousands of white headstones in perfect rows, marking the graves of sailors, Marines, and soldiers who'd served their country. One of those headstones belonged to Master Chief Thaddeus Brennan, or at least that's what Mac had believed for 5 years. Now she wasn't sure what to believe. She arrived at 11:45, parked outside the cemetery gates. The place was closed, but she climbed the fence easily. Years of training made it simple. Viper was positioned 300 yards out with a rifle. Nomad had overwatch from a different angle. Widow waited with the vehicle. Hawk and Smoke were scattered, ready to respond. Mac walked among the headstones. Her father's grave was in Section 22, near the bay. She'd visited it dozens of times, stood there crying, talking to the stone, asking for guidance. Now she stood there waiting for answers. At precisely midnight, a figure emerged from the shadows. Mac's hand moved to her sidearm, but the figure raised empty hands, and when he stepped into the moonlight, Mac's breath caught. Colonel Garrett Blackwood. His face was bruised, one eye swollen shut from where Kesler's men had beaten him. But he was alive. "Sir," Mac said carefully, "I thought that I was dead, that I was the mole." Blackwood managed a painful smile. "I'm a lot of things, Sergeant, but I'm not a traitor." "Then who sent that text?" "I did." Blackwood moved closer. "Because it's time you knew the truth. All of it." Mac waited. "Your father isn't dead," Blackwood said. "He never was. The funeral, the headstone, all of it was theater, a cover for his real mission. Which was? Stopping Kesler, exposing the trafficking network, and training you to take over when he couldn't continue." Mac's world tilted again. "Take over what?" "Team 7. Blackwood gestured at the headstone. "Your father founded it with one purpose, to create operators who could go places and do things traditional SEALs couldn't. Women who could infiltrate, seduce, disappear, who could be ghosts when needed. I know all this, but you don't know why." Blackwood paused. "Kesler's operation wasn't the first. There are others, dozens of them. Corrupt officers, defense contractors, politicians, all selling American weapons and secrets to the highest bidder. Your father discovered the network 10 years ago. He's been hunting them ever since." "Alone?" "Not alone. With help. CIA, NSA, a handful of trusted operators, but mostly alone. Because he couldn't trust anyone in the official chain of command. Too many compromised, too many bought." Mac processed this. "And he faked his death because they were getting close to him. He needed to disappear, become a ghost in truth, not just in name." Blackwood looked at the headstone. "But he couldn't abandon Team 7. So he left you in charge, trained you from childhood to lead, to fight, to survive. Where is he now?" Blackwood pulled out a phone, showed Mac a photograph. It was recent, judging by the date stamp. It showed Reaper Brennan, alive and well, standing in front of what looked like a Middle Eastern city. Syria, Blackwood said. He's tracking the next target, a general who's been selling classified intel to Russia. It'll take him another 6 months to build the case. Max stared at her father's image. He looked healthy, strong, nothing like the prisoner Kesler had shown her. The video Kesler showed me, old footage from when Kesler briefly held your father prisoner 3 years ago. Reaper escaped, but Kesler kept the video as insurance. Blackwood put the phone away. Your father wanted you to think he was in danger, wanted you motivated, angry, focused. He used me, Max said quietly. He trained you, Blackwood corrected. Kesler was a test, to see if you were ready to lead Team 7, to see if you could operate without him. And, Max's voice was bitter, did I pass? You exposed a corrupt admiral, dismantled his private army, rooted out traitors in your own team, survived multiple ambushes. Blackwood smiled. Yeah, Sergeant, you passed. Mac wanted to be angry, wanted to scream at the manipulation, the lies, the years of grief she'd carried for a father who wasn't even dead. But underneath the anger was something else. Relief. Her father was alive, and he'd trusted her enough to put her through this. Blackwood stepped aside. Actually, he asked me to arrange something. From behind a large monument, another figure emerged. Older than the photo, gray streaked through his beard, lines carved deep around his eyes. But the walk was unmistakable, the same confident stride Mac had watched her entire childhood. Master Chief Thaddeus Reaper Brennan. Mac's breath stopped. Her legs moved without conscious thought. She was running, closing the distance, and then she crashed into him. His arms wrapped around her, solid and real and alive. Dad, she choked out, the word she hadn't said in 5 years. Baby girl. His voice was rough, thick with emotion. God, I'm sorry. For everything. Mac pulled back, looked at his face. Really looked. Why? Why let me think you were dead? Because they were hunting me. Kesler, the network, all of them. If they knew you were my weakness, they'd use you. Reaper's hands gripped her shoulders. I had to make you strong enough to survive without me, to lead. You could have told me, no, I couldn't. His voice was firm. You had to believe it was real, had to feel the loss, because that grief made you sharp, made you careful, made you the leader Team 7 needed. Mac wanted to be angry, but looking in his eyes, she saw the cost, the years alone, the sacrifice. I thought I'd failed you, she whispered. Every mission, every decision, I wondered what you would do. You didn't fail me. You exceeded every expectation. Reaper smiled, and it transformed his weathered face. Team 7 is stronger now than when I founded it, because of you. They stood there, father and daughter, in a cemetery full of ghosts, but Reaper Brennan was no longer one of them. How long can you stay? Mac asked. 48 hours. Then I have to go back under. The general in Syria is close to making his move. Reaper paused. But I'll be at your ceremony, in the crowd, watching. The Pentagon ceremony? Blackwood told me. First official recognition of Team 7. Pride filled his voice. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Mac hugged him again, tighter this time. 5 years of grief and anger and loneliness pouring out in that embrace. When they finally separated, Reaper held her at arm's length. There's something else you need to know about the traitors. Frost and Cypher. They weren't the only ones Kesler approached. He tried to flip 3 others on your team. They all said no, reported it to Blackwood immediately. Reaper's expression was serious. The ones who stayed loyal, they're stronger for it. Trust them. I do. Good, because you're going to need them. The network I've been hunting, it's bigger than Kesler, deeper. And now that you've proven yourself, they'll come after you. Let them, Max said. Her voice was steel. Team 7 is ready. Reaper smiled. That's my girl. 9 months later, Mac stood in the Pentagon. Full dress uniform, Navy Cross gleaming on her chest. Around her stood the surviving members of Team 7, 5 women who'd proven their loyalty in blood and fire. The military tribunal had taken 6 weeks. Frost and Cypher were court-martialed in closed session. Both pled guilty to conspiracy, treason, and accepting bribes. Both received life sentences at Naval Consolidated Brig Miramar. No parole. Mac had attended the sentencing, sat in the front row, and watched 2 women she'd trusted accept their fate. Frost never looked at her. Cypher did, once, her expression unreadable behind glasses. Afterward, Viper asked if Mac felt closure. No, Mac said. I feel like I lost 2 sisters, and I'll carry that. Blackwood had recovered in 3 weeks. The beating had cracked 2 ribs and fractured his orbital bone, but he refused medical leave. Instead, he worked behind the scenes, building the case for Team 7's official recognition. Calling in favors, pressuring senators, making enemies in all the right places. Your father would have hated this political bullshit, he told Mac over coffee one morning. But he'd do it anyway, for you. The 3 new recruits arrived in October. Petty Officer Hannah Cross, 24, former Army intelligence. Widow vouched for her. Lieutenant Mara Hensley, 30, Marine Force recon sniper. Even Viper admitted she was good. Ensign Jade Hartley, 26, Navy EOD technician who'd survived an IED blast in Iraq and came back meaner. Mac put them through hell. 2 weeks of non-stop training, testing, evaluating, not just skills, loyalty, character, the things that couldn't be taught. All 3 passed. On November 15th, Team 7 was whole again. 8 women, 8 warriors, ready for whatever came next. Now, at the Pentagon ceremony, Secretary of Defense Martinez stood at the podium. Behind her, flags and cameras. This was being broadcast live. For too long, Martinez said, women in special operations have served in the shadows. Denied recognition, denied credit, denied their place in history. Today, that changes. She gestured to Team 7. These women have completed 18 classified missions over 4 years. Hostage rescues, intelligence gathering, direct action against enemy combatants. They've shed blood for this country, and they've earned their place among our most elite warriors. Martinez held up a flag, the seal trident, gold on black silk. I hereby officially recognize SEAL Team 7, the first all-female special operations unit in United States history. The room erupted in applause. Cameras flashed. Mac stood at attention, feeling the weight of the moment. Her father had started this, but she'd finished it. After the ceremony, Mac stepped outside for air. The Pentagon's corridors were overwhelming. Too many people congratulating her, asking questions, wanting photos. She found a quiet corner, pulled out her phone. One new message, unknown number. Proud of you, baby girl. See you soon. Love, Dad. Mac smiled, typed back. Love you too. Stay safe. She hit send, looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, Reaper Brennan was still fighting, still hunting, still being the ghost. But now he wasn't alone. Team 7 had stepped into the light, and they would never hide in shadows again. Mac's phone buzzed again. Viper. Briefing in 20. New mission. Mac took a breath, squared her shoulders, walked back inside. The war wasn't over. It would never be over. But Team 7 was ready. And Mac would lead them through whatever came next. Because that's what ghosts did. They endured. They adapted. They survived. And they always completed the mission. Always.